India's semiconductor strategy has finally moved past the blueprint stage and into the real stage of commercial shipments. This isn't simply a story about one factory being finished. The way I read it, this is a symbol that India's strategy, stacking up design, back end, and front end all at the same time, has actually started to move. And over the long run, I'd argue India is going to end up on the winning side of the semiconductor industry.
Welcome to Semiconductor News Decoded. I'm Ty, with 31 years inside the semiconductor industry, bringing you the real view from the factory floor. Today, we're taking on the news that India's Prime Minister Modi attended the opening ceremony of CG Semi's OSAT plant. By the end of this video, you'll understand what OSAT actually is, why India is entering the semiconductor industry through the back-end process, and just how far India's semiconductor strategy has really come. Here's today's news in one picture. Imagine a country that's world famous for its skill at dreaming up recipes has finally started running its own boxed lunch packing factory at home and has just started selling its very first products. We'll lean on this food and kitchen analogy all the way through the opening section. This country has long been home to top-class restaurants from all over the world, setting up their recipe development bases here, so it had no shortage of people who could design a menu. But the part where you plate the food, pack it into boxes, and sell it, that had always been left entirely to other countries. Within all the work of making a boxed lunch, this country chose the finishing work, plating the food, packing it into boxes, inspecting it, and shipping it out. Tilling the fields and making every ingredient from scratch is a massive undertaking that costs enormous money and takes many long years. Compared with that, the finishing work is easier to train people for and easier to build trust with customers through. For a country that's about to enter the food industry in earnest, it's the most realistic entry point.
This packing factory wasn't launched by a single company. A major local company sits at the center, and a veteran team of foreign craftsmen who've done nothing but packing for more than 20 years handles the on-the-floor know-how and the training of people. On top of that, there's a foreign regular customer who teaches them a special way of wrapping, someone who is both the teacher and, at the same time, the first big-order client. Products for this regular customer have already started shipping overseas. What's worth noting is that in this town, a third packing factory has already started running this year. Once factories gather in one place, other businesses gather around them too. The wrapping paper shop, the delivery company, even a school to train craftsmen. One factory ends up creating 10 businesses. And in another town, a giant factory, 3 times the size, is under construction. The early mover builds the track record, and the later, giant factory chases it down on sheer scale. That's the division of roles.
This country's plan doesn't end with packing. Building on its long-standing strength, the power to design recipes, the vision is to fill in the missing pieces one step at a time, right up to a factory that makes the ingredients themselves. And that ingredient-making factory has already started going up in another location. From here, let me walk you through what this actually looks like in the real semiconductor industry.
Now for the real detail. On July 4, 2026, India's Prime Minister Modi attended the opening ceremony of CG Semi's OSAT facility in Sanand in the state of Gujarat. OSAT refers to a back-end site that takes on the assembly, packaging, and testing of semiconductors. The Indian government positions this facility as an important step forward in its national semiconductor policy.
First, why is India entering through the back end? Semiconductor manufacturing splits into the front end, where wired circuits are built onto the wafer, and the back end, where chips are placed into packages and tested. The most advanced front end demands investment and technical hurdles on a completely different order of magnitude, while the back end is easier to advance step by step in quality control, workforce training, and customer support, making it a realistic entry point for India into the semiconductor industry. CG Semi, which opened this time, is a joint venture centered on India's electrical equipment major CG Power, joined by Japan's Renesas and Thailand's OSAT company Stars Microelectronics. Renesas holds only about 6.8% of the equity, but it provides advanced packaging technology and is also this plant's anchor customer. In other words, the first pillar, the big client. Stars Microelectronics brings more than 20 years of OSAT track record, carrying the mass production know-how and the workforce training.
What matters is that this factory has already begun commercial shipments. Chips for Renesas customers have started shipping, and exports to Malaysia have started as well. This isn't just a vision talked about at a ceremony. Actual products are leaving the factory and crossing the sea. India's semiconductor policy has moved without a doubt from the stage of announcements to the stage of selling products, and that, I believe, is the real heart of today's news.
The packages it supports are planned across a wide range, from proven staples like QFN and QFP to FCBGA and FCCSP. That said, this isn't a factory you should picture making HBM for AI. It's more of a back-end site centered on automotive, industrial equipment, consumer, and 5G, a stance of building up steadily from areas where demand is stable and track record is easy to accumulate.
Something else worth watching is the location itself, Sanand. Here, Micron went into commercial operation in February and Kane Semicon in March, making CG Semi the third back-end site this year. Prime Minister Modi repeatedly stressed the cluster effect, how one industry gives birth to 10 industries. Once factories gather, related industries gather too. Materials, equipment, logistics, workforce training. In Sanand, that formation is becoming a reality.
A division of roles within India is also coming into view. Tata Electronics, part of the Tata conglomerate, is building a large-scale OSAT site in the state of Assam with a capacity of up to 48 million units a day, roughly 3 times CG Semi's up to 15 million units a day. On commercial shipments, CG Semi is out in front. On capacity, Tata overwhelms. The picture of the early movers stacking up mass production track record while the large-scale Tata chases them down makes a great deal of sense to me.
India isn't a country starting semiconductors from zero. The world's major semiconductor makers, Qualcomm, NVIDIA, Intel, Renesas, and others, already have large-scale design and development bases in India. In other words, design in India, the foundation of design is already there, and this opening shows that the next step has begun to move.
What Prime Minister Modi repeated at the ceremony was a progression. Design in India, make in India, made in India chips, starting from the strength of design, developing towards manufacturing, and then into an industry that supplies the world. To me, those words captured India's semiconductor policy itself. The Prime Minister also laid out a plan to grow domestic industry in this order: electronics assembly, then electronic components, then semiconductors. It's not just the back end. On the front end, in Dholera, in the state of Gujarat, construction is advancing on a 300mm fab by Tata Electronics and Taiwan's foundry PSMC. Design is already strong. 3 companies are in commercial operation on the back end, and the front end is under construction. This current strategy, stacking up design, back end, and front end all in parallel, strikes me as very realistic.
Simply building a semiconductor factory means nothing on its own. It becomes an industry only once you stabilize quality, earn customer certification, and ship continuously. Semicon's role is to create that first commercial track record. Reaching the scale of Taiwan or South Korea will surely take time, but building around design strength and filling in the missing pieces one step at a time, however roundabout it may look, might just be the strategy with the highest probability of success.
Let's look back over what we've covered. On July 4, 2026, Prime Minister Modi opened CG Semi's OSAT facility in Sanand, in the state of Gujarat. CG Semi is a joint venture of CG Power, Renesas, and Stars Microelectronics, and it has already begun commercial shipments and exports to Malaysia. In Sanand, it's the 3rd commercial operation this year, following Micron and Kane's, and cluster formation is underway. On top of that, in the state of Assam, Tata's large-scale OSAT with 3 times the capacity is under construction, and on the front end, construction of a 300mm fab is advancing in Dholera.
Let me sum up. This CG Semi opening isn't news about one factory being finished. It's a symbol of India's semiconductor strategy starting to move from blueprint into the reality of commercial shipments. On the foundation of design, back-end track record is stacking up, and front-end construction is advancing too. Watching this approach, I honestly believe that even if it takes time, over the long run, India will win in the semiconductor industry. From here, keep your eye on CG Semi's track record and the ramp-up of the Tata site. That's all for today. I'll keep bringing you semiconductor news and analysis, so if you found this useful, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. This has been Ty on Semiconductor News Decoded.